Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. Joining us now, Jeremy Kimbrell. He's a measurement machine operator at the Mercedes-Benz plants in Vance, Alabama, a member of the volunteer organizing committee at the plant. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
So, Jeremy, walk us through this. I mean, there's going to be a vote. I think it's April 17th in Tennessee, and it's going to be like a 3-day vote. So you guys would be the second, at least this year anyways, to take a vote. But walk us through the history of the organizing that you've done in Alabama at this Vance plant, and how many workers are there? Just give us a little bit of background on that.
Yeah, so there's a little bit over 5,000 workers there that are full-time. I have been involved in multiple union campaigns over the years, and all of them came up short, whether the time just wasn't right or, sometimes it wasn't a very good campaign, but we always had a marginal argument to make. And of course, this campaign is different. Times are different, and the UAW has got a new president and a new administration with new strategies. And with our situation on the ground at Mercedes and then the changes at the UAW, everything just came together and made it the right time.
Give us a sense of how the campaign is different this time around. I mean, I think, I think folks have a sense of how Shawn Fain is different, and that we're in just a different era coming out of COVID. People are a lot more sort of dissatisfied and realizing the value of unions. But how has your strategy changed or your tactics changed?
You can really summarize it with saying worker-led. All campaigns before, we were kind of given pretty much strict instructions of how to conduct the campaign and specific benchmarks that were almost etched in stone. And this time it's been much more worker-led. The workers have led it inside the plant. The ideas from the workers were utilized with some adaptations. So when the workers are the ones making it happen, they're a lot more bought in. So that's absolutely the biggest difference from past campaigns.
How we got a lot of people who listen to the show who have wanted to organize their workplace or have organized their workplace. So like when you get essentially the license, forgive, I guess, sort of the pun, cars, when you get the license to basically take it into your own hands as a worker, like, what's best, what's going on there, how to develop these relationships with the other workers. Like, give us a little sense of what you do. Like, how do you build on people who are interested in the union and then slowly expand out from that? Like, how do you go about organizing that thing?
Yeah, you pretty much have it right. So you got to have relationships to start with. And once those relationships are made, you keep those contacts for could be years. Actually, at our plant, we had a campaign about 2 years ago that it was a failed campaign, but we made a lot of contacts then that we didn't have before because we had so many new workers. Our turnover has been pretty high the last several years. So a lot of workers that we met doing handbills or walking the plants were new. We took those contacts and, we just took off with it. It went real fast because we already had at least some relationship. And then we capitalized on those relationships and grew it bigger.
What, so how many workers are we talking about? And are they all in this unit? And how many have signed a card, basically that gets sent on to the National Labor Relations Board to signify that, yeah, we're ready for an election?
Yeah. So as far as card signings is we count it in the thousands. But our number that we started with was about 20. I invited about 20 people on a call to talk to the UAW and decide if that's the direction we wanted to go. We definitely knew we were going to run an organizing campaign, but over the years we've we've had a relationship with the UAW we wasn't really satisfied with, just because they, we already have a boss at work. We didn't want a boss while we're trying to unionize the plant. We wanted somebody to work with us. So once we had that meeting, the workers were ready. Started with about 20 and just went from there. So, our organizing committee is in the hundreds. It's across the whole plant. It's extremely diverse in age, gender, race, seniority. So that's why we feel pretty good. We've got all the areas covered.
And speaking of your bosses, what was their what has been their reaction, management or your bosses, and how does that differ from the previous times that you spoke about?
Yeah, so some of the campaigns we've had in the past, they fought back pretty hard. Sometimes they just ignored us. They didn't really do anything 2 years ago except put out one statement, I guess you'd say, from the upper management. That was pretty much it. And so when we started this time, actually a lot of the management was supportive of us. They knew that things weren't good. They were supportive of us, but I think because we had failed so many times, they didn't really think we'd be successful. And so the more successful we got, things got real for them. And then they just absolutely, all of a sudden it was like, no, we're not, y'all don't need a union in here. And we're going to do a extremely active campaign to put it down. And that's been from the top guy at the plant all the way down to the lowest supervisors. With very few exceptions, they're all in tandem trying to put it down.
I think we played that video of the instances where they were
right.
Mandatory meetings and talking down the union. How I imagine for them it's not that awkward, but I would imagine there's also a certain amount of awkwardness because this is a German company. In Germany, the union members sit on the board. How do they reconcile that? Or do they get a lot of well, this is America?
It's exactly what you just said. This is America. They treat us totally different from how they do the plants in Germany and even around the world. The Germans that come over and work at our plant tell us, y'all are absolutely crazy to put up with this stuff. It would never be tolerated in Germany. Y'all need to do something. So they don't get it. They just accept it. Yeah, y'all Americans just do it differently. And we tell them, no, it ain't that we want it differently. It's that our laws over here allow the companies to do us like they do.
Do they, are you getting, obviously they come over, they check it out, you're having these conversations. Is there any type of material support they provide, or they provide you with strategies or tactics, or is it just moral support, or what do you hear from those workers?
It's primarily moral support. There's nothing actively that any individual German can do. We do have the backing of the IG Metall union and also the works councils over in Germany. They've written letters directly to our management, but so far it's not rendered any change. They've had a captive audience meeting as lately as this morning, so there's been no change.
So you guys have hit at least 70% of card signatures. Is that right?
Exact percentages I wouldn't want to talk too much about.
Fair enough.
I would just say, the majority is not in question. It's a sweet majority. Even in signatures and support, everybody in the plant believes that the union is going to come in. Even the management believes it. So it's like no surprise. The people that's worked in this plant for years, the thing that they say is Mercedes has done it to themselves. From going to two-tier pay in 2020 with no reason, profits were through the roof. It was just greed, and terrible. Our insurance gets worse. They locked us in all those years without raises, and then put us on shifts we didn't want. So. You add it all together and no one's surprised by what's happening on the ground. So
you guys have also filed at least a couple of ULPs, unfair labor practice notices with the National Labor Relations Board, and also one with the German government, claiming that the Mercedes has broken German law in the way that they're treating the response to the desire to unionize in this country. What are the implications of those filings, both on the German front, but on the U.S. front? Because I'm unclear how the CEMEX ruling that took place at the end of 2023, which basically said, once there's cards filed, the management's got 2 weeks, and any type of unfair labor practices at that point automatically, basically, you're getting a union. What are the implications of both those filings?
Yeah, so when it comes to the unfair labor practice charges, our laws over here in the United States are absolutely terrible. An American citizen, a person that works hourly, should just really learn how weak our laws are and be outraged about it. So while we file those labor practice charges, and they are terrible, just a terrible example of how a human being should treat another, those will be months playing out. As far as the charges in Germany, those Mercedes is without a doubt in violation of their commitments as a company. But more than that, they're violating German law, which requires all German headquartered companies to be neutral in any active union campaign worldwide. But there again, this is the United States, and they feel like this is to be exempted. So we're hoping that bringing all this public will cause other entities other than us just in Alabama to exert pressure, and hopefully the company will decide to be neutral. As far as, bringing the election to a vote, that's another thing in the United States. The NLRB handles that, and, they have hearings and determinations. So my understanding is now they're working together to set the rules up for the election, and then we'll determine the exact size of the bargaining unit, which the company has influence over that. It's not cut and dried. They don't just give the workers a list. You have to actually file for an election before you get the actual list. So we don't exactly know when our vote will be, but we expect within about a month. And we hope through all that we're doing that the company will just finally be neutral, because the only thing that they do now that's neutral is at the end of their long anti-union speeches, they say, it's your choice. That's the only neutral thing that they say.
Is there any other, how many other Mercedes plants are there in the country?
There's one other in South Carolina, and our plant and that plant, which is a van plant, are the only two Mercedes companies in the world that are not represented by collective bargaining.
I imagine you guys have had conversations maybe with some of your colleagues in South Carolina. I imagine you don't want to talk too much about that, but are you encouraged? Can you say anything that gives me an indication of, like, is there a future at South Carolina too, for something like this?
Once we have our union in Alabama at the Mercedes-Benz plant, I think you can look for all plants to get ready, because I think that'll be the cue for workers, that if Mercedes in Alabama can stand together, the workers even in Alabama can stand together and form their union and get their fair share, then anybody, anywhere, any blue-collar worker in the country can get their union too.
What can our listeners do to help support you guys?
If you're a union supporter or a union member, just let people know that you're behind them. That in my area of the country, sometimes people consider unions taboo, and so what I plan to do is we actually have quite a lot of union workers in our area, and I feel like maybe sometimes they don't talk enough publicly about how good a union has been for their jobs and their careers. So just tell somebody union jobs are good jobs, and you need to get behind workers who want to better their lives and protect themselves.
Jeremy Kimbrell, measurement machine operator at the Mercedes-Benz plant in Vance, Alabama, member of the volunteer organizing committee at the plant. Thanks so much for your time today. Good luck, and we'll check in with you hopefully after you guys are on the other side of this election and have won it. Really appreciate your time today.
I'll be ready. Thank y'all.
All right,
Thanks so
great.
much.
Thank you.